Hi, I'm Marcus, and in this video I'll show you how you can bleed your Shimano mountain bike and road brakes with our bleed kit. Spoiler alert, for road brakes you'll need this plastic M7 adapter. Psst, if this video is too long for you, there's also an express version for mountain bike brakes. Let's start with the contents. In our bleed kit, you'll find 2 syringes and 2 hoses, but deliberately without a rubber seal, which would swell with mineral oil. 1 brass nozzle for connecting to the brake lever, 1 hose clamp, hydraulic oil for Shimano, 1 2-sided open-end wrench, 7 and 8 mm, 1 bleed block to use as a spacer between the pistons, a reusable zip tie, and a printed manual. Additionally, make sure to have paper towels or a rag at hand, as well as isopropyl alcohol or soapy water for cleaning. I also recommend always wearing gloves when bleeding your brakes. However, mineral oil is significantly less aggressive than DOT brake fluid, for example. A quick note on the procedure we're about to show. We'll demonstrate with a mountain bike brake. For steps that vary for road models, for road bikes or gravel bikes, we'll show the variations as well. Before you start, prepare the syringes by connecting each of them to a hose. Then open the bottle of mineral oil, which we provide with a child-safe lid and an additional safety foil, which you can pierce with a screwdriver or something similar. Now fill one of the syringes with about 20 milliliters of mineral oil. Just pull the plunger back entirely. Air in the hose will then move into the syringe. You have to press it out. To do so, hold the syringe so that its opening is the highest point and press the excess air out. You really don't want any air left in the system. Connect the second syringe to the brass nozzle. It's also a possibility to remove the hose from the plunger and shorten it. You would need the red clamp for that. We recommend you simply leave the plunger on, as demonstrated in this video. Now it's time to prepare your brake caliper for bleeding. To do so, you first have to take off the wheel, a quick and easy task with disc brakes. Then, remove the brake pads to make sure that no oil contaminates them. Next, place the bleed block between the pistons. This will push the pistons back. Don't worry if you have to use some force. Lock the bleed block in place with the pad retaining screw. If necessary, you can also use an elastic band if the block doesn't fit. If it's too difficult to push the pistons back, you can also use a plastic tire lever or something similar. That way you have more leverage. But please, never use a sharp object, such as a screwdriver. You may end up destroying your pistons. In order to set the correct distance between your pistons, it really is important that you use the bleed block as a placeholder. If the bleed block doesn't fit at all, then either your pistons aren't yet pushed back entirely, or at some point, you overfilled your system. In that case, you'll first have to drain some oil. Again and again, you'll find instructions online in which the pads aren't removed and no bleed block is used. Sure, it's quicker and easier that way, but you may end up with problems when changing your disc or pads. The next step is to place your brake lever in a horizontal position so that the bleed screw is the highest point. If you have an adjustment screw for lever reach, screw it outwards completely such that the lever is as far away as possible from the handlebars. If you have an adjustment screw for the free stroke, screw it inwards, clockwise, completely. For Shimano road brakes, prepare your brake lever by first rolling back the hood and then setting the reach and pressure point accordingly. Unfortunately, the placements of road lever screws vary greatly. For your model, you'll have to look it up in the manual. If you don't have one, you can find the documents you need at Shimano Tech Docs. Now, fit the hose of the filled syringe onto the bleed nipple on the brake caliper. The nipple is usually under a rubber dust cap. Putting on the hose may require some force, but it is unfortunately necessary to make sure the hose sits well and provides a seal. It works best if you fit the hose coming from the side. It's best to then attach the syringe to the frame or fork with the reusable zip tie. Attaching the syringe facing upwards in a vertical position is advantageous. Gravity will work for you, ensuring that the air always moves upwards and you don't push any air from the syringe back into the system. This is the exact same for road brakes. Now it's back to the brake lever. Remove the bleed screw using a 2.5mm Allen key for mountain bike brakes or a 2mm key for road brakes. With Shimano, the bleed screw is fitted with an O-ring. Make sure not to lose it. It may happen that the ring stays in the bore hole when you remove the screw. In that case, make sure to take it out and safely put it aside. Now you can screw on the second syringe. Please be careful. It only needs to seal for the next few minutes, and not the next 10,000 meters of elevation. On road brakes, you'll have M7 threads instead of M5 threads. Just screw the plastic adapter onto the brass nozzle. If you've got road brakes and forgot to order the adapter, I'll add a link for it in the description below. Currently, we're not including the adapter in the kit because most people don't need it. The threads on road brake levers are made of plastic and aren't particularly robust. That's why we strongly recommend against using a metal adapter. There's just too much of a risk that you'll total your brake lever. Now you're ready to start bleeding your brakes. Use the 7mm open-end wrench to open the bleed nipple on the brake caliper. To do so, turn the nipple a quarter turn counterclockwise. Some models need to be opened by a set screw on the side. Open it with a 3mm Allen key. Start by gently depressing the plunger of the syringe attached to the brake caliper. This will fill the syringe above. If there is air in the system, bubbles should now rise into the lever syringe. If the oil that is now in the syringe above is not clean, then remove it, collect the old oil and dispose of it properly at a recycling depot or a gas station, and fill the syringe back up with the same amount of clean oil. Please don't just pour the old oil down the drain or into the trash. It's got no business there and really needs to be disposed of properly. Next, do the very same thing but in the other direction, depressing the plunger of the lever syringe. Repeat this several times until there are no more air bubbles. From time to time, pull back and quickly release the brake lever and tap up and down the hydraulic hose. This can free air bubbles that might be stuck somewhere along the line. Now you're almost done. You can close the nipple on the brake caliper with the open-end wrench or 3mm Allen key and remove the syringe. Reinstall the rubber dust cap and wipe up any excess oil with a rag. Next, we'll focus on the lever again. Pull the lever back 1 or 2 times until you've got a clean pressure point again. Once that's the case, remove the syringe. The oil should be flush with the top of the borehole. If need be, just add a couple more drops from the syringe. Luckily, you didn't lose your locking screw and O-ring. Now's the time to reinstall them and seal the whole thing off. And that's it, all in all. It's best if you clean your brake caliper and brake lever with isopropyl alcohol, but soap suds work too. Of course, you have to rebuild now. Remove the bleed block on your brake caliper, reinstall the brake pads, reattach the wheel, readjust the brake lever to riding position, and readjust your lever reach and, if you've got one, your free stroke as well. Of course, the bleed kit is reusable. However, it should be cleaned after each use. If the oil in the syringes is clean, you can pour it back into the bottle and reuse it. Then, remove the hoses and plungers from the syringes and wipe off all residue with a dry paper towel. I like to just leave the paper towel in the syringes, that way I make sure that nothing leaks out later. I hope these instructions were easy to follow and that you have a sound pressure point again. If you have any questions, write us, either directly via email or in the comments. If not, happy riding!